sir. It looks like we're getting ready to go. This is going to be Bloomington Police Chief Brennan Hefner.
Good afternoon. I'm Brendan Hefner, Chief of Bloomington Police Department. Beside me is McLean County State's Attorney Jason Chambers. Is that better? On the evening of November 3rd, 2014, Pamela Zimmerman failed to come home from work. She was reported as a missing person in the morning of November 4th, 2015. The Bloomington Police Department responded to Pamela's last known location, her business at 2103 East Washington. When officers arrived, they found Pamela deceased, the victim of an apparent homicide. This morning, at approximately 7:17, Kirk Zimmerman, Pamela Zimmerman's ex-husband, was arrested for her murder. He was taken into custody without incident. This case has proven to be complex and challenging. Despite the scene of the crime being in a business at a highly visible public location, there were no known eyewitnesses. Early investigative efforts did not clearly identify a suspect. The Criminal Investigation Division set up a dedicated team of detectives who directed all of their efforts towards this case. There have been literally thousands of hours invested on the investigation of Pamela's death. It became clear early on, conventional methods of investigation were not going to be enough to solve this case. While they serve as a foundation for much of what we learned, a lot of what we know now is based on information that was not even available a few years ago. As many of you probably realize, in today's digital society, it is difficult to avoid leaving traces of your daily activity, despite any efforts you may take to the contrary. As this case progressed, we began to develop and utilize new and innovative investigative techniques to develop evidence. New training and equipment was obtained to further our efforts. As a result, our detectives have developed an unprecedented amount of data and information. The development and examination of the data has taken a significant amount of time, often delayed by various legal processes along the way. Vast amounts of physical evidence had to be forensically tested, something that is time-consuming and that cannot be rushed. Despite an arrest being made, we consider the case ongoing. We still have work to do. Because of that, I will be limited in any questions that I can answer. I want to protect the investigation, the integrity of it, as we look toward a pending trial. I would be remiss if I did not recognize the efforts of our department, the officers, and in particular, the detectives, many of whom are in this room. The McLean County State's Attorney's Office, the McLean County Coroner's Office, the Illinois State Police Forensic Lab Services, and ISP Crime Scene. Despite the complexities of this investigation, our diligence and hard work has paid off, and the investigation continues. Members of the public are reminded that these statements contain only allegations and are not proof of the defendant's guilt. The defendant is presumed innocent and is entitled to a fair trial in which the government's burden to prove their guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. I would ask, at the family's request, please respect their right to privacy. I'll now turn it over to McLean County State's Attorney, Jason Chambers.
I'll be brief as well, and I would reiterate what Chief said, that at this time, Kirk Zimmerman is presumed innocent, and the burden of proving otherwise rests with the State's Attorney's Office. At this point, with Mr. Zimmerman in custody, we will be filing in one count by information of first-degree murder. We're going to be going forward at a bond hearing tomorrow at 1 in McLean County Courthouse. And then after that, we'll be proceeding to grand jury. Because of the status that we're at right now, we are limited in additional information that we might be able to give you. But if there are any questions that we can answer for you, we'll try to do that. So if anyone has anything.
Where was he arrested?
Off of, Airport Road and Gill Street.
He was driving?
Yes.
In a,
Airport Road and where?
Gill Street.
Bill Street?
Gill.
Oh, Gill Street.
G-I-L-L.
Chief, you alluded to some legal hurdles that you had to clear during this investigation. Could you be a bit more specific on what you had to deal with?
You okay with me answering it?
Yes.
I think at this point, we need to wait for the court process to begin and let it play out that way, so that we're not releasing too much information publicly at this point.
Did you have a suspicion that Kirk was the suspect for you just recently, or was it something that you guys have had a long time kind of coming to? You mentioned there were no eyewitnesses or anything, so.
We really can't comment on that. Obviously, we have to look at things in the totality and look at a lot of different aspects. So I really can't comment on where we are with that.
And I want to be clear, it's not a situation of us not wanting to comment. It's just that we have to make sure that he gets a fair process here, and that limits us in what we can comment on to the community.
You mentioned complexities. Is there anything you can tell us as to what hurdles, not specific, but just what kind of things stopped you from being able to solve or get him apprehended as fast as you could?
Not stopped us, just delayed. Anytime you have legal hurdles and you're obtaining information, it's a process, and then you have to get it and review it. So that takes time, but I'm not gonna go on specifics exactly.
Can you elaborate further on these new and innovative investigative techniques you used in this case?
No, I cannot.
Can you elaborate further on the equipment that you had to purchase in order to help you with those techniques?
No, I cannot.
Pamela Zimmerman was the victim of a firearm attack, but we have no idea what type of firearm was used, whether it was shotgun, rifle, pistol. Is that available for release?
We do, but because that's fairly fact specific, right now, we're not comfortable discussing that with the public. We think that's something that has to play out again in the trial process.
Did you recover the weapon?
Again, I think on specifics, we can't go into that. There are fairly strict rules in terms of what it is that we can release, especially once it gets into the charging phase of things, where we have to work even closer together in terms of limiting what information we can give out there. The rules of professional ethics don't allow us to give all the details in an extrajudicial manner, which would be outside of the court process. There will be a bond hearing tomorrow, and that's what we can tell you at this point.
Can you say how critical maybe the citizens' information, the information that citizens may have provided in this case? Can you talk about how critical that was to solving this?
I will say that we have some information, however, I can't comment on how critical it was. I would, however, like to have any citizens know that we are still working this case. So if someone still has information that didn't come forward before, please contact the department and come in and tell us.
You mentioned the investigation at this point is still ongoing, and he's still looking to narrow down some suspects, or is Kirk at this point the primary one?
As with any case, until we go to trial, it's ongoing.
You mentioned here that you had, your officers had reviewed hundreds of hours of video evidence and interviewed approximately 80 individuals. Going back to the video evidence, was a bulk of that, a majority of that supplied by citizens of the community?
Really can't comment on that.
Chief, how about any kind of motive or anything like that? Can you talk about anything like that, or is that no comment there?
No, sir, can't comment. much. Thank you for coming out.